Good morning, Service Alliance community.
Good morning. Hey, by the way, Zach, I'm going to just say it for everybody else. We're glad you're back, buddy.
Thank you. It's
and
good.
No pressure if you need to take more breaks either, but we like your face. It's a good face.
I agree.
Thank you, guys. Phil, who's that guy on the left?
Yeah, there it is. All the jokes are coming now, baby.
Morning, guys. We're just going through the comments real quick, and then we'll kind of get into it. So you may or may not have noticed that I've been gone for a little bit. We'll get into that a little bit this morning too, and then we'll move on to our actual topic. Morning, guys.
Wow, Zach has been busy.
Zach has been busy. Zach doesn't stop moving. So you know what? Jay, do you want to pray us in, man? Do you want to open us in a word of prayer?
Absolutely. Dear Lord, thank you for this awesome opportunity to gather together on this online venue and just talk about leadership and about how we can better be better leaders ourselves and lead others better as well, so that we can all benefit from growth spiritually, financially, and physically. Thank you for hearing and answering these prayers. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, man.
You're welcome, brother.
Sorry, I had to kick up the volume there. So I've been absent. Took a little sabbatical. It's no secret to those that asked me. I have closed my business. I am no longer a appliance repair service business owner. That was really my passion. So I had an opportunity to close. There's some good and some bad happened in it, and I took it as the doors that God was closing to step into the doors that he was opening. So I've learned in my experience, the more we fight God and the more we try and keep forcing doors open that aren't meant to be open, the more bad stuff happens. And so I took that leap of faith into that. Now, there's other junk that comes along with it, and the last couple of months have been spent trying to get rid of assets and close the business properly, and the government makes shutting things down just lovely. You can start a business with no problem, but shutting one down, like, just forget about it. It's a nightmare. But it's been good. It's been good to be able to kind of focus, and it kind of goes into the topic that we're talking about today. And this is why I brought these two guys on, because this is an area that they are both very strong at, and it's an area for me that is a growth area, and I know that it's a growth area. So I'll start with the scripture, and then I'll kind of introduce the topic, and then I'll give you guys the floor and let you guys kind of share from your experience in leading this way. So we're continuing what EJ was sharing yesterday about building teams and growing teams and stuff like that. And we're going to look at it from a leadership perspective this morning. Okay. So Mark 10, verse 43, this is from the New Living Translation, says, "But among you, it will be different. Whoever wants to be a leader among you must be a servant." And so that really talks about, like, you've probably seen the meme of like the boss versus the leader, right? And this is Jesus saying, like, you have to serve others as you're leading. If you want to lead, it's not all about you, right? And so as we grow teams, sometimes it's that internal focus. We do have to focus on what's going on with us. And I'll start with you, Doug, just because I have the most recent example with you. We were on the phone. You were working with a CSR, and there was something going on. Do you want to share just a little bit about that story and how you kind of led through that? like as far as taking on the mindset of someone else and leading through that?
Well, when you have 27 employees, there's a lot of stories, Zach. And that was a little while ago. But I'm I'm trying to think of, is it one of those times where my employees struggling to understand the picture in that moment, and my job in that moment. I mean, I know that they would love for me just to take care of that customer, which I really would have no problem doing and would like to do, but I really want them to become really good at it. And so it's just really about asking questions to get that employee to think about not being right in that situation, but making the customer happy. Was that the story that you were in my earpiece with?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it really can be. You're pretty much not going to want to do your job for too long if you worry about who's right and who's wrong. It gets really old and it gets very frustrating, because more often than not, when you have great standard operating procedures, is that we've got all these bases covered. That customer calling in, saying that thing or doing that thing, we've seen it a million times. But it's about each time being very unique and different, because they're different people, our customers. And I want my CSRs and my technicians to think about that and try to meet them somewhere in the middle and make them happy if they can, before it comes to me. I mean, what do you think about that, Jay? Do you draw some hard lines when dealing with your customers?
Well, there's got to be some lines, but it needs to be as in their favor as possible, because leadership is influence, and people are most influenced by what you can do for them. Everyone wants to know what you can do for them, what's in it for me. And so whether it's on the front end of your business, when it comes to the marketing, people need to see that it's that you care for them. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And so you have to it's called the spotlight effect. You have to put the spotlight on them, not on you. You know what I mean? And there is a time where they want to know about you and your company, and so that there's a respective place for that. But the first thing that you need to do as a leader is make it about your customers, make it about your employees, and really spend time thinking about how you can help them. So yeah,
I never get it my way, ever.
right.
Not at work. And my wife said she might want to listen to this. Honey, I love you, but not even at home. You know what I mean? Because it's not that big of a deal
Right.
for it to be my way, other than our business model is the way I want it to be. But it's me being sort of last in that line, and it does
That's the
suck
way
at
it works.
times. But for the most part, it's very rewarding that way. Because think about it, if you had your own business, and some of these guys out there, they do, they're on the road, and sometimes they answer their phone for themselves. They are going to be their best advocate for themselves. But as you grow your business and you're going to bring employees on, you really want them to be the best advocates as well. Otherwise, you're going to be running around with your head cut off, putting out fires and rehiring people that are frustrated or whatever. So it's all about modeling it well from the top down, and
Absolutely.
getting them to realize that they can do what we do. Just treat it like it's your own business.
And
Absolutely.
that's a perfect tie back. I mean, that's exactly what I'm talking about. You're modeling as a leader to your team, to your future team members, how you lead. You're doing that by example. And like, so for us at church, we're going through a Bible study on the book of Mark. And no matter what you believe about Jesus, like whether he's a prophet or the savior, whatever, from a leadership perspective, he leads from behind. He literally models the path of leadership for those that are following him. He puts himself behind and just leads from that position always. time and time again throughout the Bible. And I think that is so important as we build these teams, that we have to continue to model that spotlight effect, like you were talking about, Jay. Like that's so important, not just with our customers, because if we do that, like, so as business owners, if we do that for our customers, as Dean says, our employees are our customers, and then the end user is our customer's customer, right? If we model that for the employees, for the team members, then they're going to do that for the end user. They're going to do that for the customer in the field. And I think both of you guys do such a great job of that. I mean, I've seen the culture that you've built, Jay, like just in the pictures and the stories that have been told as you're doing the teams and you're building your training. And so, like, for you, what's been the good and the bad of that? Like, because it's not always easy to balance those. What's been some of the challenges that you've been through as you're trying to learn that ego-free leadership, as it were?
Right. Well, just learning how to listen and to observe people and to be good at just inspiring them and helping them bring out the best that they can offer. Because, everyone has a good and a bad side. We all have a sinful nature. So, whether it's pride or dishonesty or whatever the case may be, we don't want those things in our business. And so just kind of learning how to, inspire people to just give their best and learn what's okay and what's not okay has been a challenge. But it has, God has blessed tremendously, because it starts with the core. You know what I mean? I've had to work on myself quite a bit. You know what I mean? Like, we're always growing. You know what I mean? And as soon as we stop growing, we start shrinking. So, what I feel like is so important is just being very intentional about what we give our attention to, because wherever our attention goes, our intention follows, and that can be either good or bad. And so, reading the Bible, praying, just thinking. I like how I think it's Philippians 4:8. I have it here because I don't have it memorized. Philippians 4:8 says, "Finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue and if there be any praise, think on these things." Like, that's our attention. We have to make sure that we control what we're putting into our minds, and that goes down to everything. The persons, the places, the things that we expose our minds to. If you're watching the news, you're not going to get positive things. You're not going to get honest things. You're not going to get pure things. You're not going to get good things to put in your mind. And you have to block all that stuff out, because that's mental real estate that's getting taken up. And so that's been the challenge, is trying to balance my own mind out and get to the place where I'm more of a listener instead of pushing my own agenda on people.
And you know something, Jay? Zach, of course, referenced Christ and leading from behind. So we already know we're doomed, right? As Christians, we know we're doomed because we're not Christ, and we're pretty much failures, and we're going to screw up every day. And so I guess for those who maybe don't believe in Christ or the Bible, it's not a fake humility when I say I'm going to screw up every day. I am a screw up, and because I'm human. However, I feel like me modeling when I mess up to my employees and to my customers passes that along to show them where our mindset is at. And I don't, excuse me, I don't have a hard time saying I'm sorry. Although my wife's listening possibly, so she'll say that, and she might be right there. So please pray for me on that one, guys. But
Help us.
I feel like those are opportunities every day for us to show them how much where our mindset is at, and that's I don't know. I mean, most of the guys I know in Appliance Alliance seem to have that humbleness, but I do know a lot of appliance guys that don't, and it's got to be a tough life to live. To feel like you're coming to work or you own a business, and there's all these people that keep screwing up and making mistakes over and over, and they're clueless and they don't get it, and or they don't care, and they're assuming the worst about the customers, they're assuming the worst about the employees. When you really, like you said, Jay, and Jay, you're one of those guys that have all these sayings in your head and you pop them out perfectly timed, like the one about intentionality, or that one you're gonna have to, after, you have to give it to me so I can write it down. I'll have it printed and put in my office. Where you put your attention. You see, I already forgot it. So I love people like you, Jay. You drop those great phrases, but yeah, we have to. We really, it's a great opportunity to fix a customer or fix an employee when we blew it.
Yeah, I love that, because one thing that I've learned to do is to watch for the mistakes that the people that work with me make, and how they react. What do they do? I actually try to give people the benefit of the doubt, as much as possible. But there's so much trust that you can give a person without really getting to know them. And so as soon as somebody makes a mistake and they come to me and they're honest and they're like, man, I'm so sorry this happened, whatever, I actually feel good, because I'm like, all right, at least I know this person is honest. You know what I mean? We can definitely work with that. Like, I'm happy when somebody makes a mistake and they come to me and they tell me just straight up exactly what happened, and then we can go be honest with the customer, and everything is we do whatever we can to make it right. And so, man, it's just helping people understand that you're not going to be looked down on if you make a mistake. There's nobody's gonna treat you any different. We're gonna work through it, and the most important thing is that we make the mistakes early and learn from them. So that's very important.
I would say in writing many, many years ago, that was spelled out often. If we make a mistake in a customer's home, it's okay. We can make it better, but we just have to be honest.
Exactly.
I don't think we talk too much about it, and we've hired a bunch of new people. And I take it all the way to the other spectrum, where I have some newer technicians who didn't write their receipt properly. They ordered 3 parts, but they only wrote down that they replaced one, or they replaced one but ordered 3 parts and said they replaced them all. And I know they didn't. I got to get to the bottom of that. I got to let them know that receipt isn't accurate. And even if it was by mistake, or they just forgot, or they weren't careful or detailed, I'm going to let them know, hey, that's a deal breaker right there. We need to be really honest with our customers and with each other about what's going on. Of course, all the floor damage claims lately are hurting really bad, but So.
Oh yeah, those good old floor damage claims. Oh man.
So I want to hit Mike's question here, because you guys have already kind of started to cover it. I want to formalize it a little more. How do you guys measure success for you as leaders? And I think Jay, like you started in on it. Like, a lot of it is in us. We have to be working on that growth, and Doug, you were kind of sharing like, oh, hey, here's a moment where I need to like kind of retrain my guys, and I need to share with my guy. Like, so, but I mean, digging deeper into that, what is success for you as a leader? Like, what are your benchmarks as far as that goes? We talk about measuring and tracking everything. Like, what's your measurements as far as leadership in your own lives? And whichever one of you wants to take it first.
Well, I like to measure success based on just your fulfillment of your purpose, of what you feel like God is leading you to do. Like, how committed are you, and how consistent are you with with getting there. You know what I mean? Because it's always, you're always going to be doing something to get there. It's not some destination. You know what I mean? Success isn't some destination. It's a progressive process, a growth process towards, fulfilling what you feel God's purpose is for your life. And you can measure that based on how happy you are and how much peace you have. Because one of the things that I believe causes, a person to be depressed and anxious and everything else is just not growing. Right? You're just sitting there. You're not doing anything. You're having a battle of wants. You want to be successful, but you also want to sit around and watch TV all day, or whatever the case may be, right? And so you're losing that battle to that lower value want, and you're unhappy because of it. You don't have peace. So the more happy you are, the more excited you are, the more just laser focused on something, whatever that is you are, I feel like the more successful you are.
Forward moving progress is exciting with when you bring an employee on, and I tell them that at the interview, especially my office staff, where it could be hit or miss because they may have no idea of the type of volume or stress level it could be, but maybe even a new rookie technician, a green technician. As long as I see forward moving progress, and one guy could come on and take off like a rocket, and then but he's not consistent. See, Jay brought that word consistent up. That's a deal breaker right there. So,
Right.
but you can have two people start at the same time, and one takes off and gets it really well and trains quickly, but they're not consistent. It's just like the turtle in the hare sort of story. That other employee that slowly got it and needed to process it and just kept moving along. Both those stories are exciting to me. But and so that's the journey. That's it for sure. And we also have our standard metrics of a business and numbers.
Right. Yeah,
But
exactly.
the last couple of weeks, no, the last month, I've been incredibly busy trying to meet with all the employees, because I know Jay Miskin of Action Appliances story, who got his business started through his dad in 1961. And I've taken his story and made it my own. But over the last couple of years, I've put a service manager and an office manager in place. And so now they are taking my story that was Jay's story. And I'm a little concerned. I'm hearing tiny little things, comments, emails, texts. That's not my job. I don't know if I get paid enough for that. That's not my problem. That's a manager's problem. Woo, red alert, red alert. They're missing the story that I know firsthand from Jay Miskin. And so we've had some breakfasts that are starting now with technician groups and lead techs with rookie techs. And I need to, it's been a lot of work, but it's about relationships all the time. Right, Jay?
Amen. Very important.
So I've been leading a team at church for 12 years. This is like my most prominent example, because I watched it go from dysfunction to actually like functioning. And so for me, a lot of what you guys are saying is that benchmark, and it took that internal focus. It took that growth mindset. And I sent in our back, we have a private chat through StreamYard. I sent to Mike some resources, and we're going to see if we can get those dropped among the groups for everyone. But a couple books and a leadership podcast that have really kind of helped influence how our team at church has grown, the tech team. So for me, the benchmark of success in that, and this can kind of apply to any business, has been when I have a team member come to me and they go to ask a question, and I can sit back and listen. Just quietly listen to what they're saying, let them process through it. And before they finish, you see the light bulb go off. Like it like dawns on them. Like, oh wait, no, it's this. oh, I got it. Never mind. I can't believe
Yeah.
I couldn't think. And for me as a leader, like, okay, I've done my job.
Sure.
I've trained them to ask themselves the questions, to kind of seek those answers themselves
Yep.
and begin to progress forward. Because then it's not all on me.
Right.
I can focus on encouraging and equipping and training the next generation or building up that particular team member without having to focus on all the nitty gritty, right? Like, Doug, you're not effective answering the phone like all the time. It doesn't mean that you won't, right? Like you kind of shared one of the books that I'm talking about is Ego Free Leadership, and then the other one is the Success Principle by Napoleon Hill, and in both of them they talk about doing more than you're paid for, right?
Mhm.
Like, and that leads to success. So
Mhm.
it's not to say that, Doug, you wouldn't answer the phone, right? Like, if you had to pick up the phone and answer phone, you would.
Of course.
But you're not as effective doing that. You're more effective leading the team of CSRs,
Mhm.
right? And so when they come to you and they have that light bulb moment, I mean, you've shared those moments before, right? And I'm sure this is true for you too, Jay. Like, you're out there, you're teaching your guys, and you got someone that we talked about the repelling, right? Like, that's not your thing. You'll be there, you'll do it, but it's not your thing. But you have guys that like just absolutely love doing that.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
and so for me, that's the biggest benchmark. When I can have a team member come to me and just have that light bulb moment, then I know the training has gone well and we can move on to the next principle.
That-
Um,
That's why big picture is important to share with your team.
Mhm.
Because can you imagine if they interpreted the fact that I'm not picking up the phone as it's not my job. I pay people to do that. But if I share with them my mindset that those things are potentially distractions to me, where I could be focusing on some bigger thing, not bigger, more important, because answering the phone is the most important thing, right? It's literally, it, I make sure everyone in my building knows that you guys are like the front lines, critical. If that doesn't happen, we're in trouble. But they're kind of distractions to the big picture stuff, which trickles down, throughout the whole company. And so, like in a movie or a story or a book, there's always, if it's done well, there's a beginning and a middle and a climax and an ending and a happy ending. The problem with a team in a business is there's never this wonderful music with credits rolling like, hey, we made it. Because as we might get to a certain spot and then lose 2 office staff, and then we have to start over a little bit. There's no crescendo. It just keeps on going. And so the most important thing is to make sure from the top down we celebrate every single success that you can.
Amen.
When a CSR turns an upset customer around, and she struggled, like this happened about a month ago. She just struggled trying to get herself out of the picture, and she came back to me, and I said, I would glad to take this call, but here's what I think you need to say and do first. I did those things. I want you to do them one more time, and I want you to do it in this order. And I went up there and I started to hear her, and all of a sudden, she flipped the switch and started saying things in her own way that took off from a whole different direction. Like, what is it that I can do to make you happy today? When I never told her that. And I almost like I was ready to cry. I was just dancing around her cubicle, and you got to celebrate those things, because
Yes.
for every good thing, there's another bad day where someone calls out sick and some
Mhm.
poor employee has to call 12 customers and say, I'm sorry, we're not getting to you. Right. So there's highs and lows. There's never a happy ending. Celebrate every single good success for sure.
that's the phone call I was talking about, Doug.
For sure.
That's the
I
one I
thought
was
that
on the
was.
phone with you.
I thought
Oh,
that was. I was like, wait, that sounds like what Zach was talking about.
Yeah.
oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I was on the phone for that, and Doug's like, "Man, like I've been trying. Like I've just been working with her on this, and like we have this particular situation going on now, and you happen to be walking past and we were on the
yep.
phone for that, and it was like, there we go. That's a really cool that's a really cool story of someone owning it and exemplifying that leadership that has been dripped through the team. It's so cool to
Man.
hear
Now,
stories.
I've been playfully labeled as an over flatterer here in the Appliance Alliance community, Andrew Soper and EJ. But I believe these things with all my heart. You know what I mean? Like what I see in Andrew that's great in him really gets me excited. Kyle, the little bit that I know about him, I can see things in him. EJ, I'm big fans, and I feel so. Maybe you're not going to be stupid gushy like me, you know. Although I did give. No, I think Paul's on the line watching this one. I did give my CSR Kayla when she got off the phone and took it to the next level using her own words. I just went to petty cash and grabbed a $50 bill, and I said, I don't know what your love language is, or if you even know what that means. I'm not hitting on you. I don't know what if money inspires you, I just want you to know this is how excited I am for you. That's me. But everyone else can, maybe Jay's more chill, and if he just comes up and gives a little pat on the back and says, good job, that might be as much as my over gushingness. But make sure you find the way you can show your people that you are definitely impressed. Make sure you figure out how to communicate that.
That is so important. I mean, that's how you equip them to become better leaders themselves. I mean, because when it comes down to it, it's about uplifting each other, and you don't only uplift them, they uplift you. You know what I mean? You get feedback from them as well, and listening to them and observing them gives you ideas and helps you become a better leader. And so it's this give and take, it's this relationship. Reminds me yesterday, usually around this time, you know what I mean, we're getting ready for breakfast or whatever, we're having worship here in my home, so Zach reached out and said, hey, can you get on the grind? And I'm like, all right, well, we've been trying to set this up for a little while now. Let me see. I'm thinking, I'm like, all right, my wife's 9 months pregnant. I have a 16-month-old baby that wakes up around this time and all these different things. I was like, but man, I really like these guys, and I really have been wanting to get on. So I was like, you know what? Let me just call my wife and see what she says, because she was out. And I called her. I said, man, Zach asked me to get on, and I was just thinking, maybe you can help me think. Maybe you can help me figure this out, because you may have some reasons why you think I shouldn't, and so let's talk about that. She said, no, I think it's a good idea. I'm like, oh, okay. You think it's a good idea? You really think? She said, yeah, go ahead and get on. Yeah, you liked it last time. You liked when you was on his podcast last time. That's a good idea. What are you going to talk about? I was like, oh. And I actually got courage because of that. I actually felt more comfortable because of that. You know what I mean? And some people, they think, oh, talking to you got to talk to your wife. No, that's your partner, man. That's your business partner in life. And so you got to talk to your employees. You got to get feedback from the people around you, because we help each other do better. So, man, that's huge.
Yep. It's fun.
That's awesome. I love that example of leading your family, because that's something that my wife and I have been talking about. Like, so for anyone that follows my page, it's been a lot of health coach posts, because I've been a health coach for 3 years. I just kind of, fell off. And with that fall off, right, where your focus goes, your energy flows. That's another way of saying what Jay said earlier.
I like that one.
Yeah, I've heard it both ways, like literally both ways, and I love both ways of saying it. So that's just the one that sticks in my head. But so, like, from my high of 230 pounds in January, which was 50 pounds up from my lowest point, I've since made the decision to get myself back in line. And this morning I hit 201, right? But what's important in that is the journey. So since April, making the choice to consciously make my health first and lead my family in that, my family's getting healthy. My wife is getting back in line with her health. my daughter is starting to get out there and get active and get in line with her health. And I think as leaders, like, that's what it's about. Like, we sometimes we take our families for granted, but like, that's where we get to hone these leadership skills the best, right? Like, because we're around our families so much. And so if we're leading our families well, we're going to lead our teams well.
Man.
Not perfect, because, you know, like Doug said, I'm human. I'm going to screw up, and I screw up probably more than anyone. I don't know.
Yeah.
I screw up a lot. But we get those chances to practice, and we get those chances to have those conversations and to ask for that feedback, like Jay was sharing, like, hey, what do you think about this? For me as a leader, like, that's important. If I can go to a team and go, hey, like, what do you guys think about this? You know, like when I go to the tech team, hey, so what's working well? What's not working well?
Mm-hmm.
And when there's that open line of communication, then I learn as a leader. I learn, like Doug was saying, what's your love language? What's that thing that speaks to you? And so you get that feedback if you spend more time listening than speaking. It's not something that I've historically been good at. It's a lot of practice for me to listen.
Me too.
Yeah, the conversation for a long time, 10 years at least, has been, you know, what motivates an employee, especially these different generations like millennials and Gen Zs. And it's not money most of the time. You know, I was just chatting with the owner of Action about that, and he's like, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, "Hey, I had a hunch a long time ago, but through ASTIs and networking and having these friendships with people, I know it's not that." But you know, that's harder because it's easy to throw money to motivate someone. It is way harder, because I was thinking about what you were saying, Zach, about yourself and us as leaders, that we want to make sure we're holistically taking care of ourselves, because of what Jay said earlier that I can't quite remember because I have plaque on my brain, about what you fill your brain with, it inspires you. And so that's a tough one for me as a leader, because if somebody is good enough for me to hire them, then I see the potential. But a lot of times their personal life is really, they're having problems and struggles. And because I care about them, it makes it even harder to deal with, because I can't just draw a hard line and say, come to work, do your job, and you get to keep your job. You know, that's not me. So it's all about trying to figure out that next generation of running a business, and not pushing too hard to get to know them too much, only what they reveal, and then try to meet them where they're at. You know, my office manager is gaining a little weight, and she's like, I want to shift my hours, but I don't want to let you down. I'm like, no, you're going to let me down if you don't shift your hours so you can work out. You know, and she's like, are you sure? And I'm like, well, yeah. And while you're working out, work out that guilt, because guilt is crap. You know, conviction is something else, but you don't need to feel guilty. You need to be healthy when you're here. But to get through, you know, we have 26 employees now. That's a lot of people, and most of them I'm connected with, but not all of them. And it really breaks my heart that I can't figure out what I can do besides paying them to make their life better. That's what I'm trying to do, you know.
Well, I think that's where layers come in, man. Like, I just honestly, like, so I've heard Dean Landers share this, like, and Jay, you shared a little bit on it earlier too. Like, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And so, like, you Doug, as a leader to your office manager, like, you're showing an invested interest in her, right? You're trying to figure out, like, what's helping her. Okay, well, now there's a layer below her. She's managing the office. You don't have to necessarily, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't try to an extent, but you don't have to know every single CSR's life issue. But if you've modeled as a leader, hey, like, yeah, let's walk through that. Let me hear what's going on in your life. Oh man, you know?
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean like you have to understand it, but you have to sit with them.
No, you totally nailed it. Thank you for clarifying that, Zach, because I see that with my office manager and my service manager. They're living out our culture. Our culture is taking care of our people. We're treating them like volunteers, no doubt about it. But it's those poor lost souls that no one can get through, that I'm also trying to figure out ways I can come alongside them. And in the end, the best I can, and this isn't to make me feel free of burden and guilt, is I just love to see someone come around and improve their life. And I have some people that worked for us. And it's really, again, because I'm a Christian, it's the power of God in our business. And
Amen.
that is always great to be not just a spectator, but one of the team members of God in making someone's life better,
Amen.
filling them with joy. So yeah, no, and thank you, Zach, and I'm not, yeah, and I agree with you, and I know I can do even better, but you're totally right. Karen, my office manager, she hears and sees, we connect well. She sees my mindset, and then she applies it. And then she'll be like, I hope you don't mind, but I did this. I flipped a 50 to say, no, I'm like, whoa. No, just kidding. No, but she sees it and models it. My service manager does a great job as well, Brian. So, yeah, good point, Zach. Thank you.
Well, and before
Awesome.
we close it out, you just brought up a great point. Sometimes we're not going to see the fruits of those labors.
No.
I've used him as an example before. I'm going to use him as an example again because I love the kid. Kyle. Kyle was an employee. We separated. Yes.
Really?
I've known Kyle since he was a kid. He was an employee. And we separated. And I won't go any further into deep, but we separated. But it was a moment where I could not help Kyle any further than he wanted to help himself. And as a business owner, I made a decision that we could no longer be partners in that. But I never lost touch with him.
Right.
And I am celebrating the growth that I'm seeing in him now.
We
don't always get to see that. Like, we don't always get to see, oh, crap, like, I got to change my life now. Like, that was a wake-up call for me. And then, so, like, we don't always get to see that other side of it. I'm privileged in this to get to see the other side of Kyle, like to see him growing and flourishing where he's at now.
Yeah.
So sometimes as leaders, and this kind of goes to the guilt that Doug was talking about, like, hey, get rid of that guilt. Like, if you're feeling guilty about an employee you don't feel like you can reach, and there's some type of separation, just know that if you've modeled what you're supposed to model, there's a good chance that down the road, those things that need to happen are going to happen.
Yep.
You may not always get to see it. I got lucky enough, blessed enough to be able to see it in Kyle, to see the trajectory that's happening now. But that doesn't always happen, but it can happen.
Yeah.
Just have a little faith that it can happen for people.
Yeah. I'm just curious, what's his last name?
Done.
Cal Dunn. Okay. I think I may have seen his name around the interweb, but yeah, just curious. Interesting.
Yeah.
I've never even talked to Kyle, but just chatting with him on Facebook, I blew him to Connecticut, but I think eventually he needs to start his own business. But so he needs to stay where he's at. But you can always come to Connecticut, Kyle. You'll overpay for a house. You'll make probably more money, but you'll be broke. But you get to work at Action. You get to see how I can try to take care of you and figure out your love language.
Right.
Up to you, Kyle.
Awesome,
I'd actually like to get him connected with James, because he's not, I mean, that's like the service area. What is it? Triple A appliance up there in Chicago. So we'll see. But
welcome back, Zach.
Yeah, thanks for being on and chatting with me. I will be back in the rotation on Thursday. Doug, are you back with me Thursday, or are you off on Thursday?
I'm gonna find a sub so I can be on Thursday.
Oh, cool. Excellent. Yeah. Excellent. Cool. A couple little comments before we leave. Doug, you're a good boss here. I wish other people were like that.
Oh,
He
they do.
is.
Well done.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I had Doug on, because he inspires me to be a better leader every day. It's a good dude.
We should bring all my people on, and they can just be completely brutally honest. Let's just dissect action / Doug, so that I can really find out what's going on, right?
The true measure of a leader.
Oh, that's funny. Well, I appreciate you guys coming on for my welcome back. And this is such a great topic. It's been a lot of fun. Mike and I talked. We're going to get those resources in our Google Drive, and then we're going to get them distributed out as part of a post. But if you have a halfway decent memory, Ego-Free Leadership, it's on Audible. Great book. Principle of Success by Napoleon Hill. And then another thing that I have referenced, and I've used some of his devotionals on this, is Craig Rochelle, Groeschel, Leadership Podcast. He, whether you believe in God or not, like, he teaches at national and international leadership conferences. So if you're a leader in any capacity, I encourage you to listen to that podcast, just because his perspective on leadership it's phenomenal. It's inspired me to be a better leader as well. So we'll get those resources pushed throughout the groups and everything else. So with that, have a good day, guys. Get out there, love some people. Doug's going to go hang out on the beach and enjoy family time.
Good deal.
I'm going to go to a health and hope night tonight and share a healthy community. Be a good time.
Thank you, guys.
Have a good day, guys.
All right.
Peace.
Y'all have a good one. Take care. God bless.
Nice to meet you, Jay.